With the upcoming return of Michael Shannon as General Zod in the Flash movie, I wanted to get a refresh for myself on this version of Zod, his plans, what he actually did, to remind myself of any comparisons or changes in the timeline that might be directly shown in the Flash movie from what originally happened in 2013's The Man of Steel. Now, I don't think I've seen The Man of Steel since it came out in theaters. Maybe I watched it one other time, but it's been a while. I wanted to go back 10 years later and see, is Zack Snyder's Man of Steel worth the hate? This is super obviously a Zack Snyder movie. It's got the over-the-top dramatic, the testosterone-fueled action. It's got the muted colors. It's got plot points that kind of only work to set up between action scene and action scene, dramatic frame to dramatic frame. But I think for someone who's not a huge fan of Zack Snyder's work, but not a huge, hater of Zack Snyder's work either, I think this is one of his better offerings. It's certainly better than Batman v Superman, that's for damn sure. I am no fan of Batman v Superman. You will never, ever, 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 ever catch me defending that movie as a whole, but I will say that I think that it was smart that Batman v Superman picked up on the criticism of Man of Steel, that there was a lot of collateral damage in that final fight in Metropolis. Batman v Superman picked up on that plot thread and developed it smartly in-universe is, I think, the only thing that I would give that movie actual, real credit for. But I think that that same destruction, while it was heavily criticized by audiences and me as well, I think it actually works in Man of Steel. It makes sense. Superman is a person who has lived his whole life on a world with people that he can break. We are shown multiple times that even when he is being physically pushed or thrown around or have beer dumped on him by asshole misogynists, that he will choose pacifism, that he will not fight back. This man has probably never thrown a punch in his life. So yeah, when he's confronted with an army of people who are out to destroy the whole human race, who are genetically bred to be soldiers, who have a lifetime of experience of fighting and being soldiers, yeah, he's gonna be a bit outclassed in fighting, so he's gonna have to, he's not a kung fu master like his dad, inexplicably for no reason, who can take out these soldiers with very little collateral damage and with military-like precision. What was Jor-El getting up to outside of his genetically bred science stuff? Yeah, he has to throw them around. He has to do what he can to stop them from literally ending humanity. That is the stakes that we are up against here. And I think that it thematically fits in with Superman's origin to have him have to choose between Krypton and Earth. Obviously, we always know as the audience that he's going to choose Earth, so they don't drive it home too hard. They're like, oh, maybe he'll choose to help Zod wipe out humanity. No, he's never going to do that. But will there be collateral damage along the way? Yeah. Zod's goal, especially when they are fighting at the end after Superman has destroyed the world-ending machine and sent Zod's army away to the Phantom Zone, Zod's only goal is to kill humans one by one in front of Superman, when his goal in the fight, outside of beating the shit out of Superman who just foiled his plans, is to cause collateral damage and kill people. Yeah, there's gonna be collateral damage and he's gonna kill people. During the fight itself, Superman does punch down often. He tries to hit Zod into the ground to stop spreading the violence out. And there's at one point where Superman takes the fight into space, but then Zod forces it back down into Metropolis, where there will be more collateral damage. This is Superman's first outing as a superhero. He has never fought any one of these powers. And let me take a moment to praise the movie rather than just defend parts of it. I think that it does the action between Kryptonians really well. This is the first time that a Superman movie could really show action on a Superman scale, and I think that it did it well. What it also does well is it does, throughout multiple points in the movie, show him saving people. The first time we see him in the movie, he's saving those men from the oil rig. We watch him catch the Air Force pilot during the Smallville fight. He saves Lois Lane a couple times. We have the Daily Planet characters on the ground during the destruction of Metropolis to show the impact that his actions in destroying the world-ending device has in saving people. While there is, yes, a lot of collateral damage, I don't hold that against the movie the way that I used to. Now, on the flip side, this movie is very muted on the color palette level. It is not as bright and hopeful as I think the general audience would expect from Superman in a world where Christopher Reeves is the defining version of the character, and that's how he is in the comics. He is a beacon of hope, and while I think the portrayal of the character still has him, I think Henry Cavill still does a good job of being hopeful and bright and optimistic. That is not the main point of the narrative. That's not the part of Superman that they are trying to shine under the spotlight in this movie. And while it is an important part of the character that I sorely miss, I'm not going to hold it entirely against this movie for not doing that. Especially this is his first introduction into the world. They do play around with Zack Snyder's enjoyed morality of should you help people or not, which I disagree with that fundamentally. I think you should help people anytime you can, but I do respect that. That is a debate that this movie wants to have, that they have Pa Kent as being the main force of saying, no, never help anybody, stay home, be a farmer, don't do anything with your cool powers, let me die in a tornado. I don't like that. It's a little too much. It's a little heavy-handed. I think that the tornado scene is dramatic just for the sake of being dramatic, but it is on the theme that this movie is trying to say, even if it's not the perfect story that I would like a Superman movie to tell. And I think that's overall where this movie lands for me. I respect it as a movie with a clear vision from the artist. I think that for a Zack Snyder movie, it's really well focused on a plot. While there are definitely plot holes that you can pick out, that it is not completely littered with them. I think that it does stay focused. I think that the characters do have clear motivations that I can understand. And it's not the epitome of a Superman movie, but it's not total garbage. It's not Batman v Superman. So, is it worth the hate? I don't think it's worth the level of hate that it gets. I think that it is worth a re-examination to come to the conclusion that it's fine. It's fine. There are parts of this movie, individual scenes and moments that I, while watching through, was like, ugh, that was pretty bad. And then pretty often, the next scene or the next beat would be something that I would go, that was good. And then in between all of those moments was a lot of, all right, this is fine. And that, I think, is ultimately where Man of Steel ends up being for me. The highlights of this movie, I think, were some of the acting and the casting choices. Henry Cavill, fantastic as Superman, especially this version of Superman who had some more brooding built into the DNA of the character and the storytelling, but with the undeniable sense of charisma and hopefulness that the character is supposed to instill. I think that Amy Adams as Lois Lane did a fantastic job, and I love the fact that the first thing that she does upon learning that a Superman-like being exists is figure out who he is. She is the only person on the planet who does that. She uses investigative skills, figures out who he is, and then decides on her own morality that, hey, this is a good guy, just doing good things. I'm not going to spill beans. I'm not going to spread his secret around. once she knows who he is. And he's not able to just disguise himself by taking off glasses or putting them back on. He doesn't just become a completely different person in her eyes. So I want to give the movie a lot of credit for that. And Michael Shannon did a fantastic job portraying a villain. Zod is over the top and violent and genocidal and racist and wants to wipe out a whole planet. But this actor does it all believably. And I am excited to see him come back as a villain in the Flash movie. I am, of course, upset that we don't get to see more Henry Cavill. That is a damn shame. But I'm also excited to see Supergirl in a live-action movie. So those are my thoughts on Man of Steel. Have you rewatched this movie recently? What are your thoughts on it now? What did you originally think of it when you saw it in theaters? Maybe if you haven't seen it in a while, I would recommend giving it another shot. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good week. Hi, Jen. Okay.